So today's topic will be on bundle branch blocks. Predominantly, I'll deal with total bundle branch blocks, which is the left and right bundle branch block. Depending upon the time, we'll take hemi blocks. Okay, there's a left anterior or posterior hemi block. So what do you exactly mean by a bundle branch block? So you see here, this is the normal conduction system of the heart. We've been seeing the same image. So we know that from the SA node, the impulse comes to the AV node, undergoes a delay. From the His bundle, the bundle branch divides into a left anterior fascicle, septal fascicle, and a posterior fascicle, and then the right bundle branch. So you can have a block in any of these. So you can have a block in any of these, in the normal conduction pathway. So let's say there is a block here, or there can be a block here, or there can be a block here, or there can be a block here. So if this whole thing is affected, it's a part of a left bundle branch. So this is called as a left bundle branch block. And if this whole part is affected, this is called as a right bundle branch block. Okay. So when do we suspect? When do we suspect a bundle branch block? So what will happen if there is a block? Let's understand that. So that makes it easier to suspect a bundle branch block. So we know that the depolarization of the ventricle is represented by the QRS complex. So the key to identifying a bundle branch block would be to look at the QRS complex. So the key will be to look at the QRS complex. So you look at the QRS, you will know what is happening. So what do I exactly mean by that? So the normal QRS is less than 3 small squares or less than 120 milliseconds. Correct? That is because it is happening rapidly through the conduction system via the Purkinje fibers. Now, for some reason, let's say there is a block here. For some reason, okay. So for some reason, if there is a block here, then the initial conduction, how is it going to be? So let's say the connection comes, so then it has to move in both the direction. But here it can't. So what happens? It initially goes and depolarizes this part. And then through the muscle, because there is no conduction that is going to happen. So the conduction is going to happen only through the muscular tissue. So if it is going to happen from muscle to muscle, so the time duration that will be required is longer. So the time taken will be longer. What will happen to the QRS? Is it going to be less than 3 seconds or you expect it to be more than 3 seconds? You expect it to be less than 3 seconds or more than 3 seconds? More. Yeah. Good. So that is the first key. So when you see a wide QRS, so this is first thing. So when it is more than 3 small squares, or it is wide, so you call that as a wide QRS. So whenever you had a wide QRS, there can be very few possibilities for a wide QRS. So imagine the ventricle. This is one possibility, wherein there is a block in the conduction system. This is one possibility. Second possibility is, let's say the origin of the impulse itself is from the ventricle. So let's say this is the myocardium. So this is the muscles here. So if the impulse is going to arise from the muscle here itself. So if it is going to arise from here, so then as the impulse moves in all these directions, it is going to give a wide QRS because it is happening from muscle to muscle. So the QRS again will be wide. And if there is any electrical phenomenon, like let's say there is an electrolyte imbalance or some toxins, like you will see later, that is the tricyclic antidepressants, they block the sodium channel. Because muscle transmission, the action potential in the muscle is happening via sodium. So if you block this, the action potential duration widens, the QRS will also widen. So some toxins. So these are the 3 causes why you can get a QRS wide. Okay, so initially the first thing when you see the wide QRS is, so you'll have to think of the 3 possibilities. So one of the possibility commonly is the bundle branch block. So that should make you suspect a bundle branch block. So once you look at the QRS complex, you look whether it is wide or narrow. Okay, so even with the narrow QRS, you can have a bundle branch block, but we call it as incomplete. We call it as incomplete because there is some partial conduction that is happening. Okay, so we look at wide. If it is wide, we call it as a complete bundle branch block. If it is narrow, we call it as an incomplete bundle branch block. Okay, So once we know whether it is complete versus incomplete, we have to see the morphology, because we have to determine where is the block, whether it is the right bundle branch or the left bundle branch. Okay, so that is the second thing. So we look at left bundle branch or right bundle branch. After you determine what it is, whether right or left, there is something called as secondary changes. Okay, we'll explain this, what is happening. Okay, so we'll proceed next. So that is what I said you. So bundle branch is said to be incomplete if the QRS duration is less than 120 milliseconds with morphological features, either of the RBBB or LBBB. We'll come to what it is. And if it is called complete when the duration is more than 120 seconds. Okay. We'll come to what are the normal significance of each of the bundle branch block. So we'll see how the R right bundle branch. So this is depicting how a right bundle branch is going to be formed. Okay. So we'll keep it simple. So we are going to follow the normal conduction pathway. So we'll take only the QRS complex. We determine it based on the QRS. So there are two leads that you have to always look for. It is V1, V6, and also lead 1. Okay, but these two are sufficient. You can make a diagnosis. So what is going to happen? So normally what is going to happen, there is going to be so imagine this is the bundle branch. Okay. So imagine this is my bundle branch, just dividing into a right bundle and a left bundle. Okay. So now what is going to happen is, so there is a block here. Okay. So if you remember this, it becomes easier. So imagine now the first activity, which is going to be the formation of the Q wave. Correct. So this is going to happen from the left to right. Correct. So there is no hindrance for any of that. So normally from left, it is going to come to the right. Okay. So when that is happening, what is going to happen to V6? It is going to form a small Q wave and correspondingly a small R wave. The second part is where we start the pathophysiology, second and third part. The next part would be the current moving away. So this is also normal, we know. Since the predominant is the LV, so the LV forces predominate and the current direction is more towards the LV. So you get more positive wave. So you get a positive wave in V6. This is V6, right? So you get a positive wave in V6 and correspondingly a negative wave in V1. This is, I think, clear. Then what happens? Simultaneously, you should have activated this. But then you don't have, we can't activate the right bundle branch. So at that time, from the muscle, this is the way it is going to activate. So the next activity is going to be directed in this direction. So that is what is depicted here. So if this is going to be the direction of activation, so then from here you get a negative wave here and a positive wave in V1. This is V1, correct? So you get a positive wave here. So you get first a positive wave followed by a negative wave and then a positive wave. Okay. So how would you name this? Can you give a nomenclature for this? How would you name this QRS? We had discussed previously. My screen is not visible. Yeah, correct. Everyone correct. Yeah, okay. My screen is visible, right? Okay, fine. I'm audible, no? It's clear? I hope it's clear. Yeah, okay. Good. RSR. Yes, good. Okay. So any doubts until now? How we formed any of this? So this is the first R wave, then you have an S wave, and then you have the R prime wave. Correct. Very good. So RSR pattern. So this is what we call as the rabbit ear. If you think of this as a rabbit, so there can be 2 ears, no? A rabbit has. So one side, 1 ear like this, and another side, other ear like this. Okay. Sorry, my diagrams are bad, but something like that. So that is what is the morphology. Okay. So quickly we'll run through this again. Very simple. So think of the, you should be very clear with what is happening at the level of the QRS complex formation. That is why without basics we can't proceed ahead. Okay. So there is a block in the conduction system. Okay. So let's say there is a block here. So this part is not going to work. Okay. So the first thing is left to right activation. So it is going to be normal. So you get a Q wave in this lead here and you get a R wave here. Following that, you're going to go only via the left bundle. We don't have the right bundle. So this is going to be the direction. So if this is the direction, you get a positive wave in this lead and a negative wave in this lead. Following that, you have to activate the RV only via only one mechanism, that is through the muzzle. So if it is coming through the muzzle, it is going to take some time. So this is going to be the direction. So that is what is depicted here. So then it is going to come towards the lead. So you get another positive deflection here. So from here you get another positive here, and here you get a negative. Okay. Now is it clear? Now is it clear? Yeah. Okay. Good. 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 So now, let's say we have diagnosed the right bundle branch. So what is the implication of it? So if there is a right bundle branch block, there are many implications. So it can be a part of the normal heart. Okay, it can be normal. It is seen normally also. But then we also have to think of an ASD or VSD. Okay, an ASD or VSD. So if there is an ASD or VSD, the bundle branch block is usually incomplete. Okay, the bundle branch is usually incomplete. So this is called as an incomplete RBBB. Okay, whenever you have an incomplete RBBB, so immediately you have to look at the axis. Okay, so how do you diagnose types of ASD? I'm sure we all know the types of ASD. Can you just tell? Can someone tell the types of ASD? Yes, it will be normal in V1 with RSR with less duration, correct. That is incomplete. Where is one getting conducted through? From left to right, it is going to get conducted. The initial activation from the septum is happening via left to right, no? So that is why one is going to get conducted, correct. So types of ostium primum, ostium secundum, sinus venosus. Yes, very good, coronary sinus, yeah. So now how to diagnose all of these? You can diagnose to some extent based on the ECG itself. Echo definitely is diagnostic, but then you can at least suspect. Okay. So now all of these will have a right bundle branch block. All of these will have a right bundle branch block, which will be incomplete. It will be an incomplete RBBB. Along with that, so the next thing you'll have to look at is the axis. Okay. Next thing you look at is the axis. So if the person is having a left axis deviation, then you think it is a ostium primum. Okay, it becomes an ostium primum ASD. Then the next thing is, we know that the coronary sinus is very close to the atrium. It is also a part of the atrium. So if the origin is coming from there, so that means it will have an atrial rhythm. So if it is going to have an atrial rhythm, that means the P waves usually will be inverted. It will be having inverted P waves. Okay, so that is part of the coronary sinus. Okay, and then there is the most common, which is ostium secundum. Ostium secundum will have right axis or a normal axis, depending upon the amount of Eisenmengerization or amount of pulmonary hypertension that is generated. Okay, so this is about how you diagnose ASD. So I'll repeat. When you have an incomplete right bundle branch block, you should also think of clinically also. You go auscultate the patient. Patient has a wide fixed S2 split. Okay, sir had explained. Varun sir had explained in his this one class 1 how we diagnose an S2 split. Why is it a fixed and wide split in ASD? All that was explained. So when you hear it, you won't miss it. So once you auscultate that, you have a high degree of suspicion. So you have a RBBB. So you look at the axis. If it is a normal or right axis deviation, it will be mostly a ostium secundum ASD. If there is a left axis deviation, most probably a ostium primum ASD. If it is having inverted P wave, so somewhere problem at the level of the atria, so coronary sinus ASD, okay, or sinus venosus, you can take it there, okay. So that is about ASD, okay. So something similar with VSD also. Can someone tell what was this I told in one previous class? It was first described, that finding was first described in VSD. A hypertrophy, classical one type of hypertrophy you will get. It's called some phenomenon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everyone remembers what is KW phenomenon? Katz-Wachtel phenomenon. Yeah. Okay. So that will also be seen. Okay. Yeah. Very deep QRS, biphasic QRS along the precordial leads. Okay. So that is about bundle branch block. Okay. And always a new bundle branch block. Let's say patient, you had a previous ECG completely normal, PQRST, and then now you see patient is coming with some chest pain or some vague symptoms, and suddenly you see the ECG is showing RBBB. So a new onset of RBBB is also ischemic. You think of as ischemia. Okay, fine. Yeah, clear now? So this is how we identify it. So look at these two leads. Sorry, it's clear now, the screen? Yeah, okay. Good. Okay. So this is how it is. So you look at the RSR pattern. Okay, so RSR. Okay. So this is one. Always remember this. This is very important. I'll come to it later also. I'll stress the importance of this. This is called as T wave discordance. Okay, this is normal. So that is why it is also called as rule of appropriate discordance. What we mean by that is the T wave direction will be exactly opposite to that of the preceding QRS complex. So here we have the R wave. R wave is the wave just preceding the T wave here, correct? So if this is a positive wave, that means the T wave will be inversely proportional. Okay, so that means here, if this is the R wave positive, then the T wave will be inverted. Okay, so take this example here. So you see here the T wave is positive here because you see the QRS is negative here. Okay, so this is one of the points. So this is called as T wave discordance, which is absolutely normal. So this is called as rule of appropriate discordance. Okay, same thing here also. You see a positive T wave, inverted wave here. So when you see this along with some T wave inversion, and you look at the S wave should be wide. Okay, wide in 1 and V6. Okay, so once you have this, this is called as a right bundle branch. So you know the causes. Most commonly ischemia, aging, normal physiology, etc. So this is the criteria. Large terminal R wave or RSR pattern and wide terminal S wave is present. What about septal Q wave? They are saying it is going to be preserved. Why are they saying that? Is the septum going to be affected? Is there any problem with the septum? Is there any problem at the level of septum? No. Yeah. Correct. No. Very good. So that is why you will have preserved septal Q waves. Whereas if you take a left bundle branch block, so initial septum has to activate from left to right, but then there is no left-sided bundle at all. So then you won't get a Q wave here. So in this wave you won't get a Q wave, but then this is the direction that is going to be activated. So you will get an R wave here, and here we'll get a Q wave. It will be opposite. Okay. So that is about RBBB. Clear? So we'll see all those features now. So can someone tell me what are all the features you are seeing? So someone had asked me actually. Someone had asked, how are we going to interpret it? I'll come to left bundle branch block. I'll explain this again. That activation. Yeah. Okay. So whenever you are seeing an ECG, these are the things I want to first see. First, standardization you should look for. Look at the paper speed. And then you look at whether your interpreting is correct or not by looking at lead AVR so that we don't have any misplacements, lead misplacement. And then you see the rhythm, okay, whether it is sinus or not sinus. How do we say? Look at the P wave. So P wave is positive in lead 2, negative in AVR. Okay, so that means the dominant P wave is moving in the axis of around 60 degrees. So then what you're going to see is the heart rate. Okay, so it gives you an idea of what is happening. So it's around 300, 150, 100, 75, 60. So a little more than 60 and less than 75, somewhere around 67, 68. This is the heart rate. Okay. So once you see the heart rate, so it is normal. Then you look at the intervals. So you look at the intervals. So here only two intervals main for us, PR interval and the QT interval. So they also appear normal. So QT is normal because 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. So if I draw a line somewhere at 2.5, the T wave ends well before the QRS complex. So that is why it is good. So it is a normal QR interval. Then you look for chamber enlargements. We have seen, okay, LVH, RVH, RALA enlargement. Then what we say is called as a PQRST changes. Okay. So if you remember this as PQRST changes, so we'll look at the P wave also for hypertrophy. Then what we look at is the Q waves. So there are some small Q waves here. These are septal Q waves, which is normal. Don't say it's abnormal. Okay. See, in the lateral leads, it's going to be present. And then the QRS complex. So when you come to the QRS changes, so you see there is a slurring. What is this called as? RS R dash pattern. Correct. And then you see, once you see this, you see the T wave also. It is exactly opposite. Because this wave is positive, so this wave will be negative. Then you see a little wide S wave. You see this wave, it is very clear now. You're able to appreciate the wideness. So it is a little wider than normal. So this is called as the wide S wave. So these are the features suggestive of what block? What bundle branch is blocked here? Yeah, right bundle branch. Correct. Very good, very good. Excellent. So there is a right bundle branch block. Okay. So there is a right bundle branch block. Correct. Someone is asking you a question. What is this? I'll come to it. Yeah. Axis should come. Correct. Preservation of Q wave is seen in lateral lead. Normally the Q wave is going to be seen in the lateral leads because the activation is from left to right. So the left sided leads will show Q wave here, and this will show small R wave. So 1, AVL, V5 and V6. So these leads. This and this. So these are the leads that will show small Q waves. That is normal phenomenon. Okay, imagine this is the activity that is happening. So left to right activation means here it should be normal. Fine. So it is about right bundle branch block. You see the axis is also a normal axis. Okay. So I hope right bundle branch is clear. Incomplete and complete is clear. You don't have to see anything in AVL. And they're saying the Q waves will be preserved in the lateral leads. That's all. Normally also the Q wave will be present, no, in lateral lead. That will be present. That's all. Okay. And then you should look for chamber enlargement also. So you look for chamber enlargement also. Here if there is any RVH or LVH. Okay, here it doesn't seem to be there. Okay. Fine. So if that is clear, we'll go to the next block, which is the left bundle branch block. Ask a question. Yeah. RF or not tall? You call RF tall when it is more than 20 millimeter. So for LVH criteria is isolated if you want to call in R wave, if it is more than 25 millimeter and V5, V6, then it is suggestive of a LVH. Okay, fine. So the next part is the left bundle branch block. This is also very simple. Okay, so what is happening? So here there is lead V1. So there is lead V1, same lead V6. Okay. So initially what I said, the left bundle is not able to activate the septum from left to right. So the first activation happens from right to left. If it is happening from right to left, this lead, as expected, will show a negative deflection, and this lead is going to show a positive deflection. Okay. Following that, what happens? This is going to be bypassed. So initially, it is going to come like this. The current will come and move in through the ventricle also. Okay. But then, since the LV forces predominate, so the activation is going to be along the LV only. Okay. So the second part will also be in the LV. Okay. And as it goes, as it is going to leave the V1, so it is going to be a negative deflection. So the way you identify the V1 is, you'll have a deep QS complexes. You will have QS complex predominantly negative. Okay, and along with that you will have a tall monomorphic in V6. As it is going in that direction, you will have a tall monomorphic in V6. Always remember this rule of appropriate discordance. Okay, someone wanted me to repeat. This is common for every bundle branch block. Whenever you have a bundle branch block, this T wave, whatever T wave you get, will be exactly opposite to the preceding QRS complex. By which I mean that, let's say this example for this T wave. This T wave is positive. Okay, so that means the QRS prior to it is completely negative. So the deflection will be opposite in direction. The QRS and T wave are inversely related to each other. QRS and T are inversely related to each other. So if they become going in the same direction, let's say here and you have positive. So this is dangerous. This means there is ischemia. Okay. So same like that monomorphic you'll have in V1 and lead 1, V6 and lead 1. Okay. So that is, if this duration is more than 120, you call it complete. Otherwise, you call it as incomplete. But always remember, LBBB is most of the time 99% usually pathological. It indicates there is some structural heart disease. There should be some structural heart disease most of the time. Okay. Then it may be a precursor to advanced coronary artery disease. Before coronary artery disease set in, this may be a advance this one to it. Okay. Activation, septal activation. Septal activation is simple. See. So if this is my direction of the QRS, so normal conduction system. So this activation from left to right, this is normal activation. So that is going to happen via the left bundle branch. So if that is not there, so that is not going to be there. So the left septal activation is not going to be there. So the activation is happening from this direction. If it is happening from this direction, what is it going to cause? Positive wave here and a negative wave here. Okay, fine. So that's about it. Fine. So there is something called as a left anterior fascicular block and a left posterior fascicular block. First we'll see some ECGs and then we'll come to how do we diagnose that. Okay. So are you seeing this? This is called as secondary changes or secondary repolarization. So you see this direction, the T wave and the QRS are opposite in direction. So this is called as discordant T wave, which are normal. Okay, so there is something called as concordant T waves. You see, both are in the same direction. This is called as concordant. So you get that when there is a myocardial abnormality. So whenever there is ischemia. So similar like that, you see, T wave is positive and the preceding wave is a negative wave. Here you see it's a negative wave, but V6 is also negative. So this is abnormal. Same thing applies to left bundle branch block also. It's called as a discordant T waves. Same thing. So whenever you have concordance, so it indicates a ischemia. Okay. Or if the discordance is very high, if it is too much, then also it is ischemia. Okay. So you see this morphology. You see only these two for now. Don't see the other things. So right bundle branch block, you see an RSR here and a wide S wave here. Clear? So for left bundle branch block, deep QS complexes and an M pattern. Whatever you have to study, no W and M pattern. Okay. So that is for RBBB and LBBB. Okay. So can you go for this CCGs? Yeah. This CCG, can you tell? Yeah, William and Marrow, correct. So William W pattern in lead V1 and ending with M in V6. So that is a mnemonic to remember. Okay. So you can write it as William So you see W pattern, this is in V1 and M pattern in V6. This also we saw. This is seen in left bundle branch block. So L stands for left bundle branch, W for V1, M in V6. The same thing here, opposite. So Marrow, whatever you want, you can keep the mnemonic. Marrow will be easier. We also have a app called Marrow. So that is a mnemonic you can use. So Marrow. So V1 is M pattern and V6 is W pattern. Okay. So that is William Marrow. So that is an right bundle branch. So can you tell me for the CCG, what is it? Left bundle branch, right bundle branch, there is some hypertrophy. Should tell everything. Is it appropriate or not? First you say this is a bundle branch block or no. Second thing is there is appropriate discordance or no for this. What kind of a bundle branch block and the yes, okay. So what is the bundle branch block present here? Someone is saying BB is there. Okay, we'll see. All else answer. Left axis deviation, correct. Should tell everything. See, what we are going to do is not going to see only one part and say okay. So you have to come to the axis also. So here you see lead 1 is positive, lead AVF is also negative. So there is left axis deviation. Okay, left axis deviation. Left axis deviation. Then you're seeing deep QA complexes, QS complexes in V1 to V4, and then you have a wide QRS complex here, monomorphic R we call. And then you have appropriate discordance, rule of appropriate discordance. So discordance is normal. So discordance is present and it is normal. Okay. So correct. This is left bundle branch block. Very good. Okay. So no. What is this? Okay. Yeah, you tell this. Tell this. What is this? Should tell complete, incomplete. Only RBBB is not sufficient. That's why I told. Whenever you're saying a bundle branch block, incomplete or complete, then you say whether it is concordant or discordant. Everything should be there. Yeah. This is how you see even patients. When you see patient will come, let's say patient is having chest pain, breathlessness, you have to make a lot of decisions there. Yeah. Correct. Agreed with everyone. So this is incomplete right bundle branch block on normal axis with So rule of appropriate discordance. Okay, correct. So what is this? This distributor. Look at the axis also. Normally, incomplete RBBB should have normal axis. It won't cause much axis deviations. Right axis deviation, both bundles are gone. Okay, someone says right axis deviation, both bundles are gone. I didn't get you. Okay, so incomplete RBBB, someone said. Who is the previous one incomplete? Previous one is incomplete because the QRS duration is less than 120 milliseconds. Okay, 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 okay. So let's say, yeah, correct, correct. So whenever you're having something like this, okay, so I agree with this. Everyone has told correctly. So there is rule of appropriate discordance. So are you seeing something peculiar? There is a bradycardia here. 300, 150, 100, 75, 60, 50. So this is the heart rate. Okay, so there is a sinus bradycardia. So along with the sinus bradycardia, you are getting a incomplete right bundle branch block, incomplete RBBB. Okay, but the axis here is right reaches, right reaches. So such a axis deviation you will get when there is a, along with this you should have a left posterior fascicular block. Okay, whenever you have a right bundle branch block with something like this, you should think of a right posterior fascicular block. The criteria for a posterior fascicular block is, you see here an RS complex, the R wave followed by a deep S wave. RS complex in 1 and AVL. Okay, that means in the lateral lead you are going to get an RS complex here. And exact opposite, you get a QR complexes in 2, 3 and AVF. Okay, so this is the criteria. So imagine if this is what is going to happen, that means predominantly the QRS you see here is positive in lead 3. So if you have to get a right axis deviation, so lead 3 will be the predominant wave, correct? So that I think everyone agrees. Okay. So let's say this is the vector I'm drawing. So the axis is like this. So that means maximum is going to be lead 3. If this is going to be lead 3, so what is, so a positive deflection will get maximum in lead 3. So if this is the case, where do you expect the maximum negative deflection? The exact negative deflection, where do you expect? In which lead? In among these two leads, in AVL and lead 1. Which lead will have maximum deflection? Negative deflection. AVL, correct. Okay, very good. So look at that now. You see the negative deflection is the S wave, correct? You see the S wave here in AVL, it's very more. Compared to lead 1, it is more. Okay, and you see the R wave, it is going to be maximum in lead 3. So this is a left posterior fascicular block. So you have a right bundle branch that is blocked. So you have a right bundle that is gone. Along with that, you have a left posterior bundle that is gone. So there are two fascicles that are gone. So we call this as a bifascicular block. Bifascicular block. Okay. It can be either of the two. So let's say one is gone. So RBBB with either left anterior or left posterior. Left anterior or left posterior. Both are called as bifascicular blocks. Okay. Clear? Clear with this? This is the next level. You want me to repeat which part? I told so much in this. Any particular part you want me to repeat? I'll tell you the criteria for how do you call it as a left posterior, okay, fascicular block. So let's say along with that there is a, so let's say this is a conduction system. So this is my anterior fascicle, left anterior fascicle and left posterior fascicle. Okay, so there can be a situation where either of this along with the right bundle branches block. So if this is like this, so if this is going to be blocked, so this is going to be the direction in which current is moving. Whereas if this is the direction in which the current is going to come. So this is anterior, this is posterior fascicle. So if this is blocked, the current is going to move in this direction. So that means this is going to be a left axis deviation, correct? Correct. So now if this is going to be the direction, so now we have the posterior fascicle that is blocked. So when the current is moving, it is going to come in this direction. So what axis deviation you will get now? What axis deviation will you get? Now I'll tell you, you just tell me what axis you will get. Yeah. So right axis deviation, correct? Okay. Correct. So now this is the left anterior fascicle. This is going to be the left posterior fascicle. Okay. So now you can only tell if the left anterior fascicle is blocked, what is the axis deviation you are going to get? If the left anterior fascicle is blocked, what is the axis deviation you will get? LAD. Correct. Good. Okay. So now if the left posterior fascicle is blocked, what is the axis you will get? Posterior fascicle block, RAD. Very good. Okay. So now what is going to happen is, let's take this example. So let's say there is a left posterior fascicular block. Okay, if there is a left posterior fascicular block, so then the current is moving to go in this direction, correct? So that means this is the lead 3. If you take this as my Einthoven's triangle, deviation is going to be in lead 3, okay, in this direction. So lead 3 should show a maximum positive deflection because the vector is going predominantly towards lead 3. So the lead exactly opposite, the nearest lead. So we don't have a lead that is -3, sorry. So this will be -3, but we don't have the lead. So the nearest lead that we have is lead AVL. So we look at lead AVL. Okay. So the lead AVL and lead 1. Compared to lead AVL and lead 1, which should have more negative deflection? Right bundle branch block won't have a right axis deviation. Pure RBBB won't have a right axis deviation. It will have a left axis because the LV forces will still predominate. Yeah. AVL, correct. So the negative deflection should be maximum in AVL compared to lead 1. And the maximum positive deflection should be in lead 3 compared to lead 2. If you have understood this, this is what is the criteria to diagnose a left posterior fascicular block. Okay. Exact opposite will happen because it is going to be like this. So if you get a left axis, so AVL maximum then lead 1, correct? So the R wave in lead 1 should be less than R in AVL. And exactly opposite is going to happen, which is lead 3 should have maximum deflection than lead 2. The negative deflection in lead 3 will be more than lead 2. Okay. So we'll see if I have any ECG like that. I hope I have. Okay. See here you see pure. So what I said, in the lateral leads, you'll get a left axis. When you have a left anterior fascicular block, it is going to be a left axis deviation. And I said you the RA in AVL is more than lead 1. So it is seen here. Okay. So that is seen. So exact opposite you get. See, you get an RS here. So you get exact opposite. You will get a QR here. Okay. So you see QR complexes. You are seeing QR complexes in inferior leads. Okay. 2, 3 AVF, all of them will have. And exact opposite will be a right axis deviation. So that's how you identify a left posterior fascicular block. So if there is a right bundle branch block with a right axis deviation, you should look actively for if there is a presence of a right posterior fascicular block. If there is a right axis deviation, you look for a right posterior fascicular block. or if there is a severe RVH, there will be some cause. You should tease the cause out. You should extract the cause from that. So everyone will diagnose bundle branch block, RBBB, LBBB. So you should also look for, the moment you see that, you look for the presence of a bundle branch block, okay, which is the hemi block. So here I said for the right axis deviation, what we'll see. So 1 and AVF. So see, right reaches both seem to come towards each other. Okay. So got it? So exact opposite, left leaves. So it will be like this here. So exactly like this, you will get a complex here. Okay. So this will come. So this is how we diagnose. So you see here immediately. I'll just show you one example. You see here, you're getting a RBBB morphology. Once you get an RBBB morphology, the next thing is you look at the axis. So what is the axis here? Can you tell? Someone tell? What is the axis here? Yeah, that QRS will become clear now. Okay, so you're having a left axis deviation. So if you're having a left axis deviation, what do you think now it is there? What do you think is there now? Left anterior fascicular block. Correct, 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 correct. That's what we told. So simple, you remember, if there is a left axis deviation with an RBBB, you look for features of a left anterior hemiblock. So when this is going to be the direction, imagine there is a left axis deviation. So when you have a left axis deviation, the maximum deflection should be in lead AVL. Okay, the R wave should be maximum here. So exactly opposite, the maximum deflection, the negative deflection should be in lead 3. Okay, that is what we have here. So there is a coexisting left anterior hemiblock. Okay, so that is about hemiblock. So can someone tell this now? This okay, beta. Yeah, you tell me this. So it's a normal ECG with mild sinus tachycardia, and then the axis is absolutely normal with an incomplete right bundle branch block with appropriate ST changes or T wave discordance with appropriate discordance. Okay. So this is just plain incomplete right bundle branch block. There is no hemi block. Okay. So for this, can someone tell? What is the diagnosis here? We'll see everyone's attempts. It's okay, it's attempt. There is nothing wrong, correct, nothing like that. So if there is something that we are not able to understand, we'll go through it again, no problem. Yeah, good. AVR is positive, yeah. That is because of the, see, the P wave is negative there. Correct, very good observation. See, the P wave is going to be negative. That will still hold good. Okay. So you see here, there is a right bundle branch block, right bundle branch block. There is something else that you guys missed. Okay. Anyway, I'll come to it. Okay. So you should look at everything. So there is a bundle branch block, correct. Then what is going to happen? You look at the axis. So you saw wide S wave, very good. So you said it is a right bundle branch block, agreed. The next thing is look at the axis. You see there is a positive here, one is positive, AVF is negative. AVF is negative. You see that all the inferior leads all have a RS pattern, and here you have a QR pattern. Okay, so that means there is a left axis deviation. So when you're having a left axis, you saw AVL. You see the AVL is more than lead 1, and along with that, you see lead 3 is almost or more than lead 2. Take this, yeah. Okay. So there is a left anterior fascicular block. Okay. Along with that, are you seeing here? This is a negative QRS complex, negative S wave, and the T wave is in the same direction. So what is this? What is unique about this? What is unique about that? What is unique about that? Concordant, concordant. Very good, very good. Concordant. It suggests ischemia. Yes, correct, 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 correct. So it suggests of ischemia. Okay, that is the importance. Okay, that's why we should look at everything. Okay, very good. Yeah, tell this. Tell this, tell this. This easy has a lot of things, but yeah, major things if you tell it's sufficient. Let's see the answers. Hmm. This discordance now should look in every precordial lead. Even if one lead is showing that side, this side you should have a high degree of suspicion for ischemia. Okay. Very good, very good. Okay, so everyone has understood this, no? Yeah, that's all. Simple, correct. So there is a RSR pattern. But are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Okay, so RSR we are seeing. So there is, we may say, here it is appropriate discordance. I'll come to it. Here you see, there is loss of discordance here. Okay, that is one thing. Okay, then the next thing is, so once you have said it is a wide QRS, then you see there is a bundle branch block. So we saw there is a bundle branch block morphology. Okay, so there is a RSR here, RSR. Here we don't have a wide S wave. Okay, here we don't have a wide S wave. Okay, so we have only a Q wave, R wave here, and the T wave is in the same direction. So this is positive concordance. Concordance is positive. Okay, same thing is present here. Concordance. Okay, we have a wide S wave here in V6. So this says there is a RBBB which is concordant. Okay, and we saw the axis. We see the axis. Axis is a left axis deviation. So maximum in AVL with deep S wave in 3 more than 2. So there is a coexisting left anterior fascicular block. Correct. So there is a left anterior fascicular block. What about the PR interval here, guys? What is the PR interval here? PR interval. PR interval. There is nothing like only you look at one lead. So you should look at almost all the leads for concordance. Now I'll tell you what we imply. I'm coming to the whole interpretation. 3 more than 2, the negative wave. So you see what I meant is, so this is the direction, correct? So the negative deflection. So there should be maximum negative deflection in lead 3 compared to lead 2, correct? Because this is exactly opposite to this. So you see here, the negative wave here in lead 3 is more than lead 2. So this wave should be more in lead 3 than 2. Okay. Yeah. Tell me the PR interval. Correct. Yes. PR is prolonged. Okay. So when the PR is prolonged, it means there is one more problem happening. So we say that, okay, so the right bundle is gone. Okay. Then we say, here we have the right anterior, left anterior bundle is gone. Along with that, the PR is prolonged. That means there is some dysfunction at the level of the AV node, correct? So AV node, somewhere some problem is there, correct? So this pattern is called as a trifascicular block. This pattern is called as a trifascicular block. When you have an AV nodal delay along with the bifascicular block, we call it as a trifascicular block. All that which we try to imply is such patients need to immediately be taken up for a pacemaker implantation because there is severe disease of the conduction system. That is what it essentially implies. You see, everything, almost only one fascicle is just able to maintain something. So that means there is severe disease in the conduction system. Okay, got this point? This point of this one, the trifascicular block. You can look at any lead for PR interval. Wherever you have a very good P wave, here I had a very good P wave in lead 1, so lead V1. So most commonly we prefer using lead V1 and lead 2 because these are the two leads that help us in getting a very good P wave. See, in these leads I don't see a very good P wave. The only lead I'm seeing good P waves are in V1 to V3. Only these leads I'm able to see. Even here it's borderline. Here it's there. Here it's difficult. Is it some baseline scribbling or something? Okay, got this point? So that is what I wanted to summarize. So you see, the right bundle branch block, we saw RSR wide S wave. Then you see in lead for left bundle branch block, the pattern is a QS here, William and Marrow. Okay, so this is Marrow, this is William. Okay, the next thing is in right bundle branch block, left anterofascicular block. We saw there is a left axis deviation. So one is positive, AVF is negative. The maximum deflection is going to be in AVL. The R wave will be maximum in AVL, and lead 3 S wave will be more than lead 2 S wave. Okay, so that means the axis should be, always remember when you call it as a pathological, it should be a pathological axis deviation. It should be minus 45 degree or above for a left anterior fascicular block. Okay, so that is about a left anterior fascicular block. So this is essentially the RBBB criteria. So you see, this is RBBB. Along with that, only the axis is changing. So this also is essentially the RBBB here. Only the axis is changing. One is positive, AVF is one is negative, AVF is positive. So you have a right axis deviation. So if there is a right axis deviation, maximum deflection in lead 3. So lead 3 will have maximum positivity. Lead AVL will have maximum negativity. Okay. So that is about the bundle branch blocks. So you should keep practicing. So this is the last ECG, and we'll end for today. Bifascicular is right bundle branch block with either of LAFB or posterior fascicular block. Either anterior or posterior. Any one of that is called as a bifascicular block because each is one fascicle. No, right bundle is one fascicle. The left anterior is one fascicle. Left posterior is one fascicle. Okay. Fine. Yeah. So tell me this ECG. What is the diagnosis? There is something here. What is this? What pattern is this? Okay. Yeah. You tell me everything. You analyze. You take some time and tell me what all is there. Okay. Correct. Discordant, concordant. Look at lead V2. Okay, fine. I'll come to it. You see, there is a right bundle branch block. So once we have a right bundle branch block, morphology. So you look at the axis. So we saw the axis. So the axis is right reaches. Both are positive. So it's a. And then we saw lead 3 here. Lead 3 is maximum. The positive wave is maximum in lead 3. Okay. And then we have, here we have concordance. See here, this is a positive, negative wave. The T wave is also in the same direction. Both are down. Okay. So there is concordance. Even one lead concordance is good enough. So this itself is ischemia. Okay. So this is a bifascicular block. is a bifascicular block in active ischemia. This has to be evaluated very quickly. Okay. This is complete. This is complete. It's wide. It's wide. It may not be, I think it's not very clear, but this is complete. Yeah. Where at right reaches, no? One is positive, AVF is positive. One is negative, AVF is positive. Okay. Very quickly, I'll go through it. Someone asked me to repeat one part of it. Okay. So this is my left anterior fascicle. This is my left posterior fascicle. This has to be a little imagined. So if this is blocked, okay, so the current comes like this and has to go like this. Okay, so this is left anterior fascicular block. Okay. If there is exact opposite, okay, this is exact opposite. So if this is blocked, then this is the direction it is going to come. It has to activate like this and then come like this. So this is right axis deviation in left posterior fascicular block. Okay, so this is what happens essentially. So this is going to be lead 3. This is inferior lead. So this is lead 3. Okay, this is going to be lead AVL. This is going to be lead AVL. Okay, so now when the current moves in this scenario, we'll see and we'll be done. So in this scenario, current is going to leave. So the maximum deflection you're going to get in lead 3. If you take lead 2 here, this is the lead that is exactly opposite to this current direction. So you'll get maximum S wave in lead 3 compared to lead 2. Okay. Along with that, the maximum. So since this is lead AVL, so the AVL will have maximum R wave compared to lead 1. So the R wave will be maximum here compared to lead 1. Okay. And then this is in the left posterior fascicle, what happens? In the left posterior fascicle, what happens? So here it is coming in this direction. So the maximum R wave will be in lead 3 compared to lead 2. So R in lead 3 will be more than lead 2. Okay. So exact opposite is what is happening. So the S wave in AVL, the S wave in AVL will be more than lead 1. That's all. So this left anterior fascicle will have left axis deviation which is less than -45. So which essentially means that it is a pathological left axis. So that's what it means. Okay. Clear now? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Concordance in lead V2. Yeah. You see here, this is downwards. Previous wave is also downward, which is a negative. So both are negative. This is also negative. This is also negative. This is concordant. Okay. Clear? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Any doubts? I'll end with this today. In lead 2, you'll see sinus venosus ASD. Okay. Thank you for staying up till now. So tomorrow we'll discuss about MI. Okay. So we'll end the class for today.